Welcome to From the Gut, an unscripted conversation centered on spiritual health and human values. I'm your host, George Grant, from the Woodruff Health Sciences Center at Emory University. Our topic for this series one is joy at work. And today we have a special guest. Her name is April Mount, and she's coming to us from the Emory University Orthopedic and Spine Hospital, where she serves as the Chief Nursing Officer and the Vice President for Patient Care Services.
That's correct.
Very good, very good. Well, welcome, April. Thank you for coming on the show. By the way, I'm fond of the name April. I'm wondering how you came about it.
Well, it's funny you say that because my parents, I was actually supposed to be born in April. My parents love the name April, but unfortunately I was born on March 31st. So they didn't really want to change the name to March. So they said, you know what, it's okay, we'll keep April. So that's where I...
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. You know, when we decided to take up this topic, joy at work, I was intrigued by, our leader, John Lewin's call for us to really dive deep into, defining ourselves in a certain way in our work life. And so our effort to have this conversation is to think about not so much the, sort of the broad scope of our role and get into the structure of it, but more of the, sort of the small particulars of it, those things that motivate us and the reason why we're doing what we're doing. But first of all, we do have to sort of get an outline of what your responsibilities are, and then we'll look at the particulars of what you're about.
So my responsibilities here at UWash is really general operations of the facility. I am a chief nurse, so I am over nursing practice, but it's really making sure that the operations is running smoothly and that that safety and patient safety and is at the forefront every day. And so, and of course, with our team and making sure that every day that we are celebrating the team, but making sure that we're always doing the very best and keeping our patients front and center.
Right, that's really good. And of that role, are there folks that you're responsible for that then are responsible for other things? Could you tell us a little bit about the various components of your leadership?
Yes, so my role encompasses, I have facilities management and EVS who I have leaders within those departments that manage their frontline team members, along with, my business partners, Joseph and Tamario, that really help lead some of the data and driving the financial implications and successes of UWash. And then we have our nursing leaders who are essential over peri-op services, which is a main part of our production every day. We do surgeries every day for our patients. And so we have peri-op services, and then we also have nursing, which is the other end of continuum of care. Once they receive surgery, we have a phenomenal nursing team that leads that. And so there's multiple layers. I do have specialty directors that lead shift managers or charge nurses or supervisors in each of the roles.
Thank you. I can imagine that you took on this role. And by the way, you're new to Emory, is that correct?
I am 2 months in.
So that's great. So you're a veteran, and
Yes.
Because of that, you are. I'm sure you have a lot of nervous excitement about what you do, but you were probably drawn to this role. Otherwise, you would not have accepted it.
Yes. Well, believe it or not, I started early on in my career at Emory St. Joe's, and then really became a leader of committing to the framework of Magnet. And really that drove how I was going to lead my team every day with transformational and servant behaviors that I felt that were needed to be successful for a team and for myself. And so actually worked at St. Joe's for 5 years, almost 5 years, and then transitioned to another organization. And then now have back after 10 years. And so I'm really
Wow.
excited to be a part of Emory again. It's really the foundation of how I became a leader and who I am today. So
Hmm.
it's an exciting time.
Could you say a little bit about what you mean by servant?
Yes. So I think what fills my cup as a leader is really helping those really emulate the very best self that they can be. And so taking the talents out of the team and watching them grow and flourish, that is really what I'm there to serve. And so I think, I'm a relational leader. I think you have to understand your people, but really leading from the heart and knowing that everyone has really strong strengths and opportunities, and how do you conquer those opportunities to become better strengths, and how do you elevate those strengths to become the very best you can be.
Hmm.
So
Well, the elements of the heart, right? So I'm wondering about your own propulsion, your motivation to be in the work that you do. And I'm sure that it goes way back, that you were called into this caring profession
mhm.
from early on. I'm just curious about when that spark was lit.
So believe it or not, I've always wanted to serve in healthcare since I was little. I always told my dad and my mom I wanted to be a pediatrician, and so anytime I had to go to, the work, those little days that you could go be, go see your parents at work, I always asked to go to the doctor's office. And so I knew from the very beginning that my heart and what I wanted to lead myself through is caring for people. And so that's really, I never deviated from that. I knew going out of high school, I wanted to be a nurse and went right into nursing practice. Nursing school, graduated, and continued my education. And like I said, it's a passion of mine. It's one thing that it was truly a calling.
Hmm. And I'm sensing that you've had family support for your endeavors and in your
Yeah.
direction.
Yes, I've had tremendous support. And I think, one of the key aspects I think that kind of marked it is that when I was going through nursing school, my aunt at the time was 36 and she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Actually, she was diagnosed at 30.
Mm.
And she was an important role in my life going through that process. And she ended up passing away at the age of 36. But I truly believe she was there to serve a purpose, to know
Hmm.
that it kind of validated that I was doing the right thing. I would go home and take care of her through her progressions and stages. And it was not only the support that I got from my family, but it just validated and supported that I was doing the right thing within my profession and that the calling was right. So I owe a lot to my aunt in many, many ways.
So she's still alive with you,
No, yes, she's still alive. Yes, spiritually. Yes.
right? Um, well, I appreciate that um, that sense of inner call
Mhm.
and companionship that you've had with persons in your life, and how when things are kind of tough, you call on those core values that are instilled in you. And I was wondering if there might been an occasion just of recent where you've had to rely on that in terms of uh, getting yourself on track.
I think that within your journey, it was a big change. Leaving. I'm a very loyal person, and so when I decided to, continue my journey on, um, I was I was a little nervous, because I was moving outside an organization that I had established wonderful relationships with. And so when I started making those personal calls that I believe truly are my mentors in my professional career and personally, they were nothing but joyful. And so instead of feeling guilty and being challenged with how do I move on successfully, knowing and appreciate everything that was given to me for the last 10 years, um, I felt great. That was the calling where I needed to connect with those certain mentors to say, it's okay to celebrate this. We're
Mhm.
behind you 100%. we want you to succeed and you are ready for this. And so that was, even though it was an exciting time, it was difficult because I wanted to make sure that I left my team in good standings and that my relationships that I had built, it's not really goodbye. It's we're
Hmm.
just going to continue. And so that's kind of how I want to set the framework here,
Hmm.
in my new role. So
Well, and it's really hard to leave, right? Anything that we're a part of. But having that healthy sense of goodbye, you know, makes it possible for us to be at an optimal level in our new story, right?
yep,
And so you're in this new story,
yes, I am.
and I'm wondering, day to day, there might be times when you're thinking about, well, this is fun. I really like this part, because there are also, I'm sure, the opposite is true.
Right.
There may be things that are not so fun. So I'm wondering if you can describe both in some way.
Yeah, so I think what's fun is learning, right? And so I'm in a new environment. I'm learning from all the wonderful people that I'm surrounded with, and learning to get to know my team. And so that's what's fun because there's so much talent, and I think that's, it's not, like I said, it's not one person that makes you successful. It's your team that makes you successful. So I'm seeing how the team is gelling and how we can really build off of each other as we forward think and how we want to, how do we want to strategize and what do we want to develop for the vision of UWash. And so that's what I think is so much fun is just seeing them work well together and really share ideas and have that openness. Um, and then the not so fun is you will always have it is just how you elevate the people that may not love the job as much as you do, and how do you encourage them and how do you inspire them to be a better. I'm always asking my team, are you being your best self? Because what can I do to help you get there? And I think that once you're in that place and recognize when you're not going to be your best self or you're falling back, if you have that awareness, you can get yourself up faster. And so I think that's the piece is when you're in a culture of excellence and it's just thriving, how do you still get everyone to thrive the way you thrive? And so that's the piece that I think is, the most challenging sometimes.
Right. What are you finding that works? I mean, when you say that persons are sometimes disgruntled or
Mhm.
upset or frustrated, uh, what works in terms of how you become an inspiring person to get them out of the funk?
So I'm pretty energetic and I'm very, like I said, I'm relational and I feel like my energy, I feel like I can bring some positive energy, but really it's listening to the team. It's listening, understanding, it's communicating with them. It's talking about how we're feeling, what's working well, what's not working well, understand the place that they're at. Because once you understand where they're at and how
Mm-hmm.
they're feeling, then you really know how to, okay, how can we conquer this together?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's the number one thing is that being present and stopping to listen, and then devising a plan and making sure that that communication is open and always there.
So perhaps you have a gift for listening, but sometimes we have to learn how to do it.
Mhm.
So what do you think? What are the elements for you and how you came to be a listener?
I think that you have to recognize that it's okay to be quiet. You don't have to talk all the time. And so it's okay to pause and it's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to take a moment to reflect and pause on that.
Hmm.
And so the use of reflection and pausing and not necessarily having an answer right away, because sometimes if you do, then it may be the wrong way or the
Right.
wrong answer. And so I think it's okay to say, I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about it, I need some time, and we will definitely follow up. So I think that if you have that all the time where you're looking at, can I address this right now? Do I need a second to pause? And that sometimes you just don't have to talk. You just let people
Right.
talk to you, and then they feel so much better. And at the end of it, it's okay. I've heard you. So let's move on. How can we do this?
Right. And it feels like you're a lot like me. We can tend to be on the exuberant side, right?
Yes.
And it's hard to be quiet.
It is very hard to be quiet. I have to tell myself all the time in my head, count to 10. 1, 2, 3, because I love to chat and I love to
Right.
connect with people. And it's just, I love to talk. And
Right.
so it's something that I had to, learn to do and really pause and
Right.
listen. And so don't feel like you're interrupting, and just either you can respond or let them know that, you know what, I really need to ponder that, and and I'll have to circle back with you. It's not that it's not that I didn't hear you. I just need time to reflect.
Yeah. You talk about that, um, slowing down. And I often say to myself, go slow in order to go fast. That there is something about that conservation of, being quiet and listening that actually gives us more energy and keeps us more on target and focused on the objective.
Mhm.
So I really appreciate that. So are there strategies that help you to go slower?
I always ask my team or individually, am I going too fast? Am I going too slow?
Hmm.
I need you to be open and honest. I always lead with, let's establish trust. And so transparency, straight talk, I want that for my team and for myself. And that's kind of how I always, that's my motto when I talk with my team. But really, it's really asking those straightforward questions. Am I moving too fast?
Hmm.
What does this look like? How can we do it different? Because if your team is off alignment with you, then you're not going to be successful. You're going to have more barriers.
Right.
So it's important to have those touch points.
So as much as you're comfortable with, our personal lives, they come into
Mhm.
convergence often with our work life. And I'm wondering if there are those elements in your personal life um, that you take part in that actually help you to become a better person, in the workspace.
So I have two young children. My 9-year-old is a lot like me in so many ways. Her name is Emily, and my son is Wade, and he's 7. And so I think she's at the point where, relationships and building is just extremely important, and she loves her mom to death. I think what has helped me is that when I'm home is, mom, you're not present, you're on your phone or you're doing this. And so I have to make a conscious effort to say, nope, I need to be present. She calls me out on it. So then I'm therefore accountable of my action. And so I try to carry that same philosophy to work. People want you to be present. And that goes back to listening. And
Hmm.
so when I'm in meetings or having one on ones, I put devices to the side, my attention is on them, and it's about you and I having a conversation or whatever we need to be doing. And so I think that is something that she has taught me
Hmm.
very well. And so is my son. He's catching on too. And so now it's kind of a family joke is, okay, are we present? Is everyone putting devices down? Let's play a game together. So, but that is really, she's helped me, and she's helped me to be my best self at home too, because of that.
Oh, that's great. And might there be some other activities that you take part in terms of helping with your own sense of stamina?
You know, I love to read. I
Hmm.
love to get out and exercise. I love art. There's a lot of things that I love. I love being with my kids and my family, my husband. And so, I find ways to decompress for sure. And so it's really just being family oriented, and that's who I am as a person. Being with, going to see grandpa and grandma and nana, and just being around friends and family. And so that's kind of how I recharge, is being around the people I love and surround myself with my friends.
Hmm. So let's turn back to work again.
Sure.
And I think that one of the things that's capturing my attention about work life has to do with the those things that you wouldn't necessarily think are highly motivating or keep us energized. But when we look back on them, we say, wow, okay, that's an important piece of who I am at work. And it might be something very small. And I'm wondering if there is something that, as I've said in previous conversations, it may be perceived as being tedious or task oriented, but because I am responsible to it and that I get it accomplished, it actually helps me, in terms of my own sense of investment in the role.
Yes. So I think that making sure that and I have time for my team and being visible and connecting with my frontline team members. I think that is the balance that, even though it's tedious trying to carve in that time, it's the most important. It's the most important to me. It's the most important to really understand the success of how I'm doing, how I'm relating to the environment, and what I can do to better support it. And so all the tasks, all the meetings are wonderful. We do a lot of brainstorming. We come to a lot of decision making, but the little tedious times of 15 minutes of rounding here and rounding there and making sure you're staying on track with that, I could say it can be tedious because it's just trying to encompass that in a really busy day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the most rewarding, and it's the most I believe it has the greatest amount of impact
Mm-hmm.
on a team. And so when you're front and visible, and I've always appreciated that within my professional career, watching people out and about. And so that's, to me, and I don't know if I answered that question. I find it to be the most challenging to do, but it's
Uh-huh.
the most rewarding.
Right. Well, that was
Yeah,
getting at the point I was making, and I'm, I'm I'm hearing you as being a disciplined person, and I'm wondering if discipline is something that you think about or it just comes naturally to you.
I just, I've always been disciplined. I'll tell you, my parents always said I never had to have curfews. I was always way beyond my years of maturity, I would think is what they say to me, because I know what internally right and wrong, it comes very naturally to me. And so I don't really deviate from that, from the heart and from my mind of what I think I need to do as a leader. And so with some things like that, I am very disciplined on. I have a lot of flexibility and fluidity with other decision making, but when it comes to the people and impacting my patients, I always put that front and center.
Mm-hmm. Um, the I'm trying to imagine what it was like, in your childhood, and your parents were recognizing those attributes and um, encouraging, but also being somewhat, challenged by it, right? Because you seem like a very structured person,
Yes,
and but it seems to give you joy.
it
I
does.
mean, I mean, when you find yourself in a position where you have a sense of control over your surroundings.
Mhm.
Is that true?
That is very true. I always had to be in control of my surroundings. And it was only to either protect myself or protect those around me. But I always felt like I had to be the leader of that pack
Right.
when those situations. And I was very athletic, so I was always part of a team. And so
Mhm.
there was a lot of structure and discipline around that. And really, and so I think that kind of molded myself within my behaviors too.
Right. Well, we've never met, but I can sense that your colleagues would be delighted to have relationship with you
Oh,
in your
thank
work
you.
life. That you bring with you a sense of, again, call and energy, and you value relationships,
Mhm.
and I think that's a mark of just a great uh, colleague and leader. So I'm appreciative of what you're carrying.
Yeah, I truly am an authentic leader. And I know people say that all the time, but I am who I am. I will never deviate from integrity or moral, beliefs of what I carry every day. And so I think that when you have that and you have a strong foundation, it just like it really does bring great joy to work because
Mm.
you always are thinking of the positives. And even it could be a bad situation, you're learning, you're growing, and there's something positive that's going to evolve out of it.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us. Do you have any final thoughts, something that that's come to you while we've been talking, or do you have a question of me?
No, I mean, I love the opportunity, and this was new to me, and so I I mean, I would love to be a part of it in the future. I think this is a great avenue to have this discussion and to really help others, because we're all sitting in that same place sometimes, and it's nice to hear from others of how they're working through it and what they're doing
Right,
in life.
right. Well, welcome to Emory, April, and
Thank you, George.
thank you for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you in the workplace.
Absolutely. Thank you.